WWE 2024 through 2025 quarter one report card. I'm Will. That's Brandon. We are the Cousins of Destruction Wrestling podcast. As always, let's cheers and talk about some wrestling, huh?
Yeah. So like you said, quarter one down, one of the big four down. Mm-hmm. What do we think so far from Mania to SummerSlam?
Yep.
Probably do this after every quarter here.
Yeah.
And just a fun little thing. What we like, what we didn't like, what we think.
Yeah. So with the wrestling year kind of always begins at WrestleMania and ends. So 1 year ends, 1 year begins. First quarter is WrestleMania, SummerSlam. Let's get after it. We have it broken down through three things here. We're going to do our weekly programming. We're going to do our stories, our main stories, and we're going to do our PLEs, add them all up and give our grades on it. Let's go ahead. Let's start with the weekly programming. Raw. Monday Night Raw since WrestleMania. So what did it look like going into WrestleMania? We had Damian Priest as the new champion. We had Seth Rollins. He was going to take a lot of time off.
Oh, yeah. After Mania?
Yeah. That was just kind of like setting the scene for after Mania. So he had some time off. Seth Rollins. Rhea Ripley gets injured. We have Becky Lynch taking over the title for her at the beginning. Judgment Day really starts to carry the show all the way through SummerSlam. We now are sitting with Damian Priest had the title the entire way through. He now finally drops it. Liv Morgan has taken the title in the middle of that, built up that story. Judgment Day's been great. What would you grade Raw?
Yeah, I gave Raw an A.
Woo.
So Raw, by far to me, has been the entertaining show. It's been the storyline show, but also the stars, the wrestlers, the characters, whatever you want to call them, however you call them, they've just seemed more meaningful, more impactful.
Yeah.
So I talked about Gunther, Priest, not only with that feud, but we were kind of nervous when Priest took the title over, right? We're like, I don't really like this. Gunther's been a star in the making. You have somebody like Jey Uso who doesn't do anything, and he's still over. I went ahead, I talked about Braun Breaker as a whole.
Yep.
Him and Ricochet, him and Dragunov, Sami Zayn, that whole thing. I also talked about Bronson Reed, Sheamus, Kaiser, Dragunov, kind of those, I call them like the Monday night workhorses.
Yeah.
Kind of like,
that's a good way to put them.
Just guys that you know are going to go out, wrestle almost every week. They're going to put on good matches. Pretty good stuff. You got to see, I called it Women's Faction Wars. So some spots weren't great, admittedly. Some weeks kind of dragged on some segments there, but nice to see some underutilized talent, in my opinion. Some people are like, hey, let's give some of these people some more shine. The only thing for Raw, and it's really a WWE problem, was just the tag titles to me.
Yeah.
Pretty much non-existent. Need a better presence as a whole. That kind of kept it from being an A+ for me, but still, must-see TV every week.
Yeah.
Excited to see. The shows are flying by.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is that I gave Raw an A+. I think that especially one thing that we didn't mention that happened right after Mania was the draft. And a lot of people coming off the draft are like, SmackDown's got the obvious better roster here. But my Lord, Raw feels like a breeze compared to SmackDown, and they got a whole extra hour. The way that Raw has been able to utilize the new workhorses, the way you put it, a lot of new talent was kind of thrown in there. They've all made a name for themselves where like their household names in terms of us wrestling fans, like we just expect to see Ilya, we expect to see Lyra, stuff like that. They've just been great in building up Damian's character. We don't really need to go much further into it. Raw has just done a phenomenal job post-Mania, building up all their people. It's all been paying off, and I hope they continue to do it. Yeah. But going into SmackDown, I'm going to go first. I gave SmackDown a C.
Okay.
I gave SmackDown a C. Thought about a C+, even a B-, but just couldn't do it. But going into the SmackDown after Mania, we finally had Cody Rhodes as the champion, but we all knew Roman was going to be gone. We all knew The Rock was going to be gone. So how do you carry that momentum? And admittedly, they struggled. Mm-hmm. They struggled big time here. Took a while for Bloodline 2.0 to get their feet underneath them. Cody and AJ was good, but there was no big story. We just came off the biggest story in wrestling history almost with Cody. So now dropping him and trying to find something else was a little rough. And then Logan Paul not being on the show destroyed the middle of the middle of SmackDowns every single week. Yep. With no mid-card title, it was muggy. But looking into the future, SummerSlam set them up really well, hoping that they're just going to take off after this.
Yeah, and I mentioned that as well here. Pretty much what you said. I give them a C-. So for me, it was on the other end.
Yeah.
Some really hard stuff to watch. Cody, the story has been kind of bogged down for me.
Yeah.
The Bloodline 2.0, Solo did his job if you think about it as he makes you miss Roman.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
Fatu's obviously a star.
Yep.
The other two, you don't really need them.
Yeah.
Kind of just there.
Especially, which one is the one that always just is
Tonga
it
Loa.
Tama? Is it Tonga?
Tonga Loa.
Oh,
yeah.
is it?
Yeah, I talk about him later on. Just wait.
Yeah.
You look at the DIY Waller Theory stuff. So I talked about tag titles as a whole. That feud for me, it was just kind of lacking.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, when are they going to start making Waller and Theory? Like, when are they going to break that up? How are they going to do that? And the DIY stuff, I mean, they lost the belts already. So it's like, I don't know. It's just the tag team scene seems weird to me. It's a little tongue twister. And then I went ahead. Bailey's reign, not great.
Yeah.
Excited for Tiffany and Nia, though, with that combination.
SmackDown was a case of we need to get to SummerSlam.
Yeah.
That was SmackDown's whole thing. It was like, let's scratch and claw and fight our way there. Once we get there, we get Tiffy and Nia, we get Roman back. Like, they knew it was coming. Mm-hmm. They just had to get there. And they survived.
And the biggest probably 2 points here as to why I made SmackDown a C-. I honestly thought about a D+ as well. I talked about there's no real workhorses there. So when I talk about Raw, they have Bronson Reed, they have Dragunov, they have Kaiser. They even had Ricochet.
Yeah, they're trying to build Carmelo Hayes and Andrade. But
those two. But that's been pretty recent.
Yes, right.
LA was there.
Yeah,
we talk about Montez potential wise, but he's never really on TV.
Yeah,
and then the main reason for me, as time has kind of gone on, Jade and Bianca's presence has been just not there.
Yeah,
it's been kind of weird. So like, I understand they had the titles and they're wanting them back, but they should be bigger than what they are.
Yeah.
So I was like, those are two people that you could really attach yourself to that they just haven't.
Yeah. So between my A+ to Raw and my C to SmackDown, I ended up giving it a B+ because, B's obviously in the middle of those two, but I gave it a B+ just because I think Raw has been so good and so overshining. So what was your weekly programming overall grade?
Yeah, overall, just real quick, I guess you look at it, I'd give them a B.
B.
I mean, Raw is the very heavy hitter there.
Yeah.
And SmackDown, for only being 2 hours, it's like, God, this is rough at times.
So we'll move on to the specific stories in the weekly programming. So I'm going to just go ahead and start Judgment Day being the main story of wrestling. People would argue Bloodline 2.0. I'm going to argue Judgment Day all day long. A+ work. There's not really much else to say. They built Damian. This Liv Dom thing has been phenomenal. The way they were able to not only get over Rhea's injury, but thrive during her injury is just something that's amazing. Now we're leading into a whole nother era of it. I don't need to go into much detail there. Judgment Day's an A+. That's an A+ story.
Yeah. Yeah, I had them on mine. It's an A+. There's not much more to add.
Punk versus Drew.
I give that an A-.
A-.
So it is a great feud, and I know some people really enjoy that. The Money in the Bank cash-in still leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
I understand it. I understand it progresses it. I understand everything that's happening, but I feel like we didn't need that specifically. So that's the only reason why that's not an A or an A+ for me.
I gave it a B+. And kind of the only reason is that we haven't gotten much actual in-ring action due to the injuries and stuff, which is like, how are you going to knock him for injuries? Well, you're right. But at the same time, it's been a feud since before Mania here.
Yeah.
I need some in-ring action.
Yeah. That's the other reason why I didn't really go full on, because even if it is just promos in ring, like, we haven't really seen them together a ton.
Right.
It's always this one.
True. There were months where it was like one at a time, and that takes away. Bloodline 2.0, I went ahead and I gave them a B-. I was leaning into C's. I wanted to give them C's, but I was looking into the months as we've seen. I mean, the slow trickling in of new guys, whether or not they ended up panning out, was still a cool thing. Guys that we never thought we'd see in WWE. Jacob Fatu is an absolute superstar. That dude is going places, and obviously he trickled in toward the last quarter of the first quarter of this, but he's going to be great. But I thought the Paul Heyman thing, when he got "you not my tribal chief," that's A+ material right there. And like you said earlier, Solo's done the job of being the piece of shit, not tribal chief that we want to see go. And that was the point. So I think they've done enough. B-.
Yeah. I went ahead. I give him a C. Just a flat out C.
There you go.
It's passable. like you talked about, there are some really good moments. But there's also some really bad moments. So just average them out. Overall, it's like, it is what it is. It's kind of a wash for me. So yeah, just to see.
Yeah. Another big one that was happening. I separated them, but now I am going to kind of put them all together. Doesn't change my overall score, but I have the Alpha Academy, Chad Gable, Wyatt 6. I
combine those on mine.
I was going to split up Wyatt 6, but I mean, at this point, they're just synonymous with each other. I gave the Wyatt 6 an A+. I gave the Alpha Academy an A. I'm going to go ahead and give them an A+ overall. People are going to be like, what do you mean A+, Wyatt 6? Yeah, I know we haven't seen very much of them, but I would argue, to me, one of the greatest, if not the greatest debut of all time. They've done absolutely nothing wrong in terms of the Bray continuation of his story, and I think that every time we have seen them in the ring, it's exceeded expectations. So I can't knock them at all. And therefore, I'm just going to go ahead and say, screw it, I love it, A+. And then the Chad Gable stuff with the Alpha Academy, I mean, we praise that. I mean, Chad Gable is this character is amazing. Looking forward to the Creed Weather stuff. Him and Otis weekly drama was just must-see TV.
Yeah. I went ahead, I combined it all before, I guess you had said that. I went ahead and just gave it a straight A. The only thing that I could say bad about any of it is maybe a little bit more from like the Abby the Witch stuff. There was that one video that we didn't necessarily like because it didn't really give us any insight. And she's the only one that we're kind of missing some insight on. Yeah. Other than that, fair. I mean, like you said, great debut, great in-ring debut this past week. Gable's phenomenal. I mean, Alpha Academy's playing their role perfectly. You're excited to see Tozawa and Otis on TV. Who would have thought we would have said that? Yeah. So it's just elevated everybody around it.
Maxine, great work from her.
Yeah.
I didn't have any more specific storylines. I kind of just said the overall mid-card stories. So I wrapped together during this time. We had the King of the Ring. We had tag team titles going off and on. We had the Sami Zayn stuff. And I'm just going to say that those conglomerations of stories for me have been a B-.
Okay.
Sami Zayn's reign, we were. You know what? I'm gonna bump this down to a C+ because Logan did nothing. Yeah. Logan did nothing the entire months here. They're gonna be like, yeah, he fought Cody Rhodes at I think that was King and Queen of the Ring, one of them. I don't know, but it was for nothing. Mm-hmm. It was for Cody's title, but not his, so it wasn't even a title defense. The Sami Zayn stuff, we were critical about it. They were good matches, but it just felt like Sami Zayn was a wall in which people couldn't go up against. Yep. You already spoke to Jade and Bianca not getting the time they need. Damage Control has been in an Bailey has been in an So I think that they were really top heavy with really good stories, but then those other trickle in stories during this time were just kind of they didn't have the juice.
Yeah, so I kind of broke mine down. I have 1, 2, 3, 4.
Go for it.
So I went ahead from the women's tag team division / like factions. So as a whole, I put that as a B-.
Fair.
You get the Unholy Union, which we haven't really seen a whole lot on TV. Jade, Bianca, like I just talked about, you haven't really seen them. Yeah. But the Raw side of things, I feel like, is carrying that. So you have Sonya Deville's team. You have Damage Control. You had the Party People. Like, they were released on screen, giving them a chance and seeing what could happen.
Multiple segments a night.
Yeah. So, and those were at times better than what I expected. So I was like, I want to give them a little bit better than a C. So B-. We go ahead. We talk about the Raw workhorses. I gave him an A-. I mean, you could have passed it. You could have gone even higher. I just felt like, A- sounds good because we're seeing Bronson Reed now. People really take notice of him now. You had Sami Zayn. I could even put in there. Braun Breaker, Dragunov. I mean, every Monday on Raw, you're getting 1 to 2 matches that maybe you don't know of earlier in the day, but they're like, oh, tonight on Raw, and you're like, oh, we get that match.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Yep.
Fair.
Yeah. Sign me up. The main titles. So I broke these down as to just the men and women. So you have Damian, Cody, Bailey, Liv, Becky combo. I gave that a B-. Those main titles, to me, didn't really have a whole lot of juice around them. The only one that had a lot of juice to me was Damian.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you had Becky, Liv, but then like Rhea was off screen, and now we're just getting around the title again, and Liv just kind of had it to have it.
Yeah.
Cody had his to have it. I would like to see titles kind of be the reason more, a little bit pushed,
I agree.
A little bit more.
I completely agree with that.
And then the last one I had, I think this is universal thought was tag teams. I gave that a D-.
Yeah, I just flat out say F.
Yeah, I was trying to be nice.
Maybe F plus because SmackDown has tried to do something with them
That's
toward the very end of the quarter.
Yeah, that's kind of why I gave him a D-. You had that tag team turmoil match gauntlet thing that was like weird, just filling time. Street Profits should be on TV. The Bloodline with Fatu having the belts, that's cool. DIY didn't really do it for me, but at least they pushed somebody new. The Raw tag team titles.
Oh, God.
Judgment Day has them now. Awesome Truth had them, but they did nothing. Waller, in theory, you could say on SmackDown, did nothing.
I'm not going to lie. And even with Judgment Day having them now, it feels like, ooh, why do they have them?
Yeah.
Because now,
exactly.
Like
so
Finn's the leader of this new Judgment Day. I know they don't have a leader, but now he has to like defend the tag title. He can't go after something bigger. I don't know. It feels weird.
And overall, before we dive into the PLEs, like the stories have been really, really good.
Yes.
Overall, but like I said, I would like more of an emphasis on the belt.
Yeah.
Again, and some people might say, "Oh, it's a prop," blah blah blah. But like, that's what you're going for. That's what you're fighting for. They really kind of dropped the ball with Cody so far, with Bailey so far. I thought. Now we see what happens with Nia. Priest was really the only one that I felt like took the belt and kind of ran with the opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. I'd agree with you. People are going to argue Sami Zayn, but you know.
Well, just main ones.
So what was your overall grade of the stories? I gave them an A- overall.
Oh, Lord. Well, with some of those, quick man, like a B.
That works.
I mean, it's above average.
Yeah.
Like I said, Raw, again, carries it. But those tag team, I mean, God, why even have tag team belts if you're not going to put them out there?
But with all of wrestling, what does the weekly programming, what do the stories, what are they for? They're to sell you on their premium live events or pay-per-views or whatever you want to call them.
The only place titles can really change hands.
Yeah, that's fair. Unless you're a tag title, you're probably only changing hands.
That or I guess Liv Becky. But other than that, PLEs.
That was forced. Yeah. PLEs. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, including SummerSlam. I went PLE by PLE. We started with Backlash, WrestleMania Backlash. I guess they knocked the WrestleMania off it now.
Yeah, they said Backlash France, I think.
Backlash France, which immediately gets boosted because that was our first big international crowd of this stint, and they put on a classic in the stands. Those fans were loud. What we got here, we got the Cody and AJ put on a phenomenal match, pun intended. Cody goes over, obviously. Damian Priest had his first successful title defense against Jey Uso, which was a great match, in which a lot of people thought he was just going to go ahead and drop that to the big dog Jey. And then we also had Tonga Loa. He makes his addition to the Bloodline. Bloodline then at that point had 3 guys because they already had Tama Tonga. So the beginning of this building up of Bloodline 2.0, that was the main things that I had from this. And I remember Backlash as being good. B+ for Backlash France from me.
Backlash France. Parlez-vous français? Bonjour, je m'appelle Brandon.
Spaghetti.
A little bit. I don't think that's,
That's Italy.
Close, I guess.
Olympics.
So my takeaway from this, like you said, crowd was great. Bloodline stuff was okay. You had the debut of the infamous Tonga Loa.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Botch himself botches his debut, but
I've seen the SummerSlam throw Cody in the ropes.
Yeah. Oh, I called it out live. I was like, look at this. This is terrible. But, at this point, maybe I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He's got to be doing it on purpose now.
Lean into it, yeah.
He just knows, So that was there. The main thing for me was the women's triple threat between Bailey and Naomi and Tiffany. Thought that was really good. Thought Tiffany, they were going to pull the trigger there. They didn't. Worked out better for her.
Yep.
And then the Jade and Bianca, at that point, winning the belts felt like a big deal.
Yes.
At that point, it felt like, okay, these are tag titles that we really haven't seen or felt like importance for a while. Give them to them. They're going to take it, elevate those. And I thought they really did when they had those belts.
Yeah, no, 100%.
It felt like it was a little short, but
it felt like when they eventually dropped them that they're going to get them back real quick and keep that up. But at this point in Backlash France, it was really good. What was your grade of it?
I just gave it a B.
B. Yeah. So we're on the same
Nothing too crazy, but it was above average.
Shortly later, we'd go over to Saudi. Another international crowd here, and we would do our King and Queen of the Ring PLE, where Cody Rhodes and Logan Paul would put on a good match for just Cody's belt. Kind of this was the first sign of Cody maybe not having good, not having a through line here.
Yeah, but I think we kind of just contributed that to like, oh, it's a Saudi show.
Yeah.
Let's just throw something together and like, okay, that's fine, whatever,
Agreed. Liv would finally become the champion. She would defeat Becky Lynch with the unintentional assist from Dom, which kind of started that whole ordeal. And then, of course, Gunther and Nia Jax would each put on great matches. Nia with her incredible annihilator on Lyra Valkyria, and then Gunther defeating Randy Orton, which actually through line leads to what's happening right now because he didn't pin him. Both of them would obviously go on to win championships at SummerSlam. I thought King and Queen of the Ring was good. I gave it a B.
I must be a little bit harder on that.
Really?
I give it a C.
Really?
So for me, big takeaway, as I say, I'm not a big triple threat guy. I wrote down triple threat between Sammy, Gable, and Bronson Reed.
That was good.
Good, really good stuff. The Cody and Logan Paul, it was all right.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a match, but just the whole thing for me, I was kind of like, I don't really want this. And I guess the main takeaway for me is like King and Queen of the Ring. I guess I like how they crowned them both the same night, but my thoughts are just dedicate a night to it. I miss it when King of the Ring was one night. You have 8 people.
Oh, come on. Night. Dude, the King of the Ring, the tourney every week was awesome.
Don't get me. No, I do like the tourney every week. I do like the way that they booked the tourney.
Maybe they should leave like the final 4.
Yeah.
For King of the Ring.
Yeah,
like,
something like that.
Build it, make it one bracket bigger, and then when we get to King of the Ring, have both sides work a match beforehand and do it that way. I agree with that.
Yeah, it depends, because if they're gonna book King and Queen of the Ring the way they did this year, keep it like this.
Oh, you want it like this?
But my thoughts are maybe this is just a one-off, and I missed the whole like, oh, this person, he's fought 2 matches already, and they gotta go head to head, and I don't know. I kind of like that.
Then there always seems to be like an obvious winner or a comeback story in the works. Yeah.
But these were, we kind of knew Gunther was going to win. Yeah. And I guess Nia Jax was probably more than likely the favorite, but Lyra at least had like a little bit of hope,
I like Lyra, but I know. We would then keep on with the international crowd. I think all these were international. Was Money in the Bank international? Was that in Canada?
Yes.
Yeah. So
technically not. I don't know. I don't think that's technically international.
Not
right?
US.
Yeah, there we go.
We would get Clash at the Castle though from Scotland, Glasgow, Scotland. I only had 2 main takeaways from this one, but they were great. So Cody Rhodes had his AJ style story came back up. They had an I Quit match, which I thought was great. It was kind of shit on by the internet online because of the whole Cody with the stairs and that thing. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good way for Cody to look strong here and merciless. And then obviously we had the big screw job where Drew was taking on Damian Priest for the title, and the ref bump happens, and the 1, 2 camera pan, it's CM Punk. And that really, really heated up their rivalry. Looking back on this pay-per-view, the big moments were big. They were fun. But I went ahead and give it a C+.
Okay. I like this one a little bit more. I gave this one a B. As you said, Cody, AJ, another great match. You could pencil that in for any time. I'm going to love that. Kind of a shocking unholy union win for me. Yes. I understand that Alba Fire was going through some stuff at the time, and I get that. But my question is so where are they now? They haven't really been on TV much. So kind of dropped the ball. I guess some revisionist history, I guess. Like now it's hindsight. But my biggest takeaway wasn't the screw job and wasn't really Cody, wasn't AJ. I thought this was a coming out party for Piper Niven. Thought it was really good.
Yeah, the match was good.
I was impressed with her, and maybe more so the build up and the match itself. I was really impressed with that.
To me, she felt like the biggest. Whenever they go to these countries, they love to throw people in who are around there, obviously, which they should, because if they're good enough to be that high on the card, and you go somewhere where they rarely get to go, they should have the moment to shine. So I'm not arguing her moment, but to me, she felt like the biggest push for that reason. Like she was there for that.
Yeah,
and that felt.
And that's probably true. I more so was excited because she was actually getting a chance, and I thought she did really well.
She did.
And like I said, the match was pretty good.
I liked her build-up.
It wasn't terrible.
I like the build-up.
Pretty good. Nice to see her be kind of that strong woman. It's just kind of weird because she's on the same show as Nia Jax, and like that's Nia Jax's role, so maybe she doesn't get the shine.
Yeah.
But also, as I said with Unholy Union, where are they now? Piper Niven had that one match basically, and that's been it. So I feel like they could have maybe capitalized it. Had some singles matches here or there, but thought it was a really good showing for her. So
we had one more before SummerSlam. We had Money in the Bank, which had some good moments here, some very good moments, and then a moment. We had Bloodline would actually defeat Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens. They'd pin Cody Rhodes, which was great for the storyline. Jacob Fatu was also his like in-ring debut for them. He shined.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, it's a great visual to have Cody get.
Yes,
all together.
Then obviously Drew and Tiffy would both win the Money in the Banks. The women's match in particular was probably known as the greatest women's ladder match in history. That match was great. The men's was great. Drew winning it, though, really kind of stole the moment for the night because once he won, we at home all knew exactly what was going to happen, and it happened. Drew, of course, would cash in during the Damian Priest, Seth Rollins match. CM Punk would get involved, and Damian Priest would end up winning it. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to give this a... I think I'm going to stick with my Clash. I think this was a C+ level. Okay. C+ level. As I'm talking about it, I'm actually moving scores up and down. And I think this is C+ PLE.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to give it a B-. I originally wrote B, but it's probably a B-. For me, I still think the wrong person won the briefcase. I still think it should have been Jey Uso.
Yes. But
it is what it is. That feud didn't need it. I will continue to say that.
Nope.
Kind of left a sour taste in your mouth. Everything else was okay. The women's Money in the Bank match, like you said, greatest ladder match of all time. The right person won there. So pretty much that was the highlight of the night. But Money in the Bank was just like, it was okay. Like it was all right. It had some good moments, but
the best part about all these PLEs was like every little moment felt bigger because the crowds were so great. Like there was just great atmosphere throughout. Yeah. Whether there was a bad match or a good match, there was still just great atmosphere. So they were all good. It's just And then of course SummerSlam, we're gonna end there. This was flat out an A. I'm not gonna A+ it. But I thought SummerSlam was about as good as you can get. I just maybe needed one more big moment. That doesn't make much sense because we had some big moments here, but
who'd you want to come back? Stone Cold?
Yeah. He should have been there because he wasn't there at Mania. But obviously here it was the moment the WWE's waited for since WrestleMania 40, right? They got the belt on Gunther. They got the Liv and Dom moment where Dom screws Rhea, so Liv retains. They got their mid-card titles finally over to the new era of guys in Braun Breaker and LA Knight. Yeah. And obviously, toward the end, Roman Reigns makes his big return, setting SmackDown up and wrestling up for some great future here. To me, there just wasn't anything to bog down on. It was great. I'm going to give it an A.
Yeah, I went ahead. I gave this one an A+.
Boom.
It was one of the best SummerSlams in recent memory for me. Kind of was maybe a little harsh on some of the other things. Maybe I'm being too lax. I don't really know. But this one, like you said, top to bottom was really good. We got a really good Logan Paul showing. Yeah. Because we always do. The only thing for me on SummerSlam that kind of bogged it down was the Nia and Bayley stuff. But they also kind of saved that a little bit with teasing the Tiffany cash-in for me. So, and admittedly, you have 7 matches. Not all of them are going to be 7 5-star matches, you know? So it is what it is. But
to me, the only thing that kept it away from an A+, which is going to get hated on, but like as people that make wrestling their lives, like we do, like we knew Roman was coming, and I felt like as amazing as his debut or his return was, which it was, the drama in the ring was kind of missing something from me. Like I thought there was gonna be more of a impact that he had on the overall match in terms of like. I don't even know. We talked about the in-game like thing. There was no Jimmy, no Jay, and that's gonna work into the story later. But I had built it up in my head as this huge thing gonna happen, and then it happened, and it was great. But it was like yeah, he came back and he speared him, and that was that. It was wonderful, but it did blow my socks off, which is unfair. But I need that for an A+.
Yeah, I think that's just a bad take.
That's just completely unfair. I'll admit it.
I think that's just a bad take. Yeah, I mean, and to me, the SummerSlam, I put it as an A+ because you talk about all these other matches like Money in the Bank. We're like, oh well, this person should have probably won. Or we talked about Sami Zayn, Braun Breaker, the first time. Well, that was Money in the Bank as well. But maybe this person should have won. But like to me, SummerSlam, all the right people won.
Agreed.
So it's like I can't get upset or
except for Damien.
Well, but now we talk about him and Finn and how it's all setting up.
I still miss it.
I miss it too. But
I've had nightmares every night.
I miss it too. But it's like
I watch him Hulk up.
All the right people won, and so it's like I can't be upset at them for doing exactly what they needed to do, even if it is predictable.
Yeah, you're right.
Still solid. I mean,
you're right.
We've seen some bad SummerSlams. I mean, I always reference that CM Punk, John Cena, Jon Stewart SummerSlam.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Dark times.
But you look back at stuff like that and you're like, oh yeah, this is
dark times. Dark times. Overall, for PLEs, I'm going to land it at a solid B on the dot. A couple of them kind of held that down, but a huge SummerSlam was great. Some good matches at Backlash, and yeah, I mean, I gave it a B.
Yeah, I gave it a B as well.
There you go.
I gave 3 pay-per-views, PLEs, Bs, and 1 C and an A+. So yeah, it pretty much averages out to that. Like I said, it would be nice to just have titles be the main focus and maybe not. I understand stories are wrestling. I get that. But I feel like sometimes they've been taken away from the belt, or maybe champions are involved in stuff that are storylines, but they have the belt and it's like somebody else could have that belt.
Yep.
So that's always there. But and I also wish PLEs weren't the only place to lose a belt, but we get what we get, and it's been enjoyable.
It has been. So our overall grade, speaking of that, my overall grade for the 2024-2025 first quarter of WWE Mania to SummerSlam has been a B+. I think that I put just from the Judgment Day to Bloodline, I feel like WWE is as hot as it's ever been. They didn't lose a step in terms of just the overall Raw and SmackDown from The Rock and Roman leaving. SmackDown, obviously, we talked about it's been a little, but Raw has been so good that it's just remained on a good level for me. I think this is some of the best wrestling that we've gotten from WWE in a decade. I mean, since Cena Punk days, stuff like that, even before. I think we're really in a good time.
Yeah, we're in a really good time. I originally gave it a B+, but as I'm thinking about it, I'm going to drop it down to a B. It is, like you said, really hot. It is really good. Things have been coming out. Raw's been carrying. That's probably why it's not a B+ or an A for me, because SmackDown has been pretty not good. Yeah. Then you look at, my favorite SmackDown, I guess, moment, or one of the ones that sticks out in my head, is when McIntyre attacks Punk. Well, those are Raw guys. So it's like,
oh, mine's got to be Paul Heyman.
Well,
my tribal chief.
But like outside of that, you think about it, you're like, there's not too many moments from SmackDown that really stick out to me.
Yeah, I agree.
And so you think about it that way. It's just like, yeah, it's been good. It's been really enjoyable. We're on a trajectory where I think quarter 2 is going to surpass this quarter. Oh my. And that's something I'm really excited about, because Raw's already an A. You get SmackDown trending towards that A. Yeah. Good Lord.
We'll be back to do quarter 2 report card after, Survivor Series? Mm-hmm. So that's a few months away. I'm absolutely looking forward to it. Anyway, we've been watching some great wrestling.
Yep.
Hell yeah. Which is also sort of like the Q1 for our pod too. Just saying. When we started right after Mania, you know what I mean? That's our year too. Anyway, let us know in the comments what you would grade this quarter of WWE.
Yeah, and I guess it's quarter 1 for us, so let us know what you grade our podcast as well.
Shit, that's a bad idea. That's a bad idea. Anyway, follow us on all of our socials at COD WrestlePod, COD WrestlePod. We did just start a Discord, so be looking out for that link. Anyway, listen to us wherever you get your podcasts at Spotify, Apple, etc. And share us with whoever you might think would like this type of wrestling content. As always, I'm Will. That's Brandon. We are the Cousins of Destruction Wrestling Podcast, and we will see you next time.